Welcome, everyone. Appreciate everyone being here today for this special event that I have to give credit to Sandra Washington for coming up with the idea to have this special event in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday on Monday. And I thought it would be a great idea for Dr. Claudia Baquet to talk about a really interesting work that she's been doing on health equity. So I will turn it right over to you, Dr. Baquet.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm very pleased to be with you and provide a brief overview of some very innovative, creative projects that we have the good fortune to direct that are funded by the FDA's Office of Minority Health and Health Equity. And I could take first slide, please. And thanks, Joe, for the assistance. We are a part of a national consortium called REACH, Racial and Ethnic Minority Acceleration for Health Equity Consortium, funded again out of the Office of Minority Health and Health Equity at the Food and Drug Administration. There are 6 REACH members of the consortium. They include Americans for Indian Opportunity, Inc., out of Albuquerque, Florida State University, which, among other focus areas, focuses on Indigenous and Black Hispanics, Hawaii Health Equity Research and Outreach Network, or Hawaii HERON, which focuses on Native Hawaiians and other Pacific Islanders, North Carolina Community Health Center Association, which focuses on federally qualified health centers and community health centers. Our project, which is focused on historically Black colleges and universities, faith-based and other community-based organizations, the UMB School of Pharmacy's REACH. And then finally, Puerto Rico Racial and Ethnic Acceleration Consortium, or PR REACH. The FDA's Office of Minority Health and Health Equity has a vision for creating a world where health equity is a reality for all. And so it serves to promote and protect the health of diverse communities through research and communication of science that ultimately address health disparities. And their website is, the link is listed there for you. Next slide, please. For our University of Maryland, Baltimore School of Pharmacy REACH Parent Grant team, it includes myself, Dr. Jasmine Cooper, our Director of Qualitative Research, Dean Joan Tillman, the Dean of the College of Health Professions at Coppin State University, as well as the Helene Fult School of Nursing, Dean Kathleen Kennedy, who is the Dean of the Xavier University of New Orleans College of Pharmacy, Andrel Metrier, our research project coordinator, and our external advisory board. So that is our central piece for our parent grant. Now, the benefits of working with this consortium include it provides a formal infrastructure for us to rapidly accelerate research, outreach, and community engagement related to health equity. We enjoy the benefits of ongoing technical guidance from FDA content experts. We are able to transform community participation in FDA activities. This becomes very important since many people don't know the role of the Food and Drug or the potential benefits of participating in a host of activities that they sponsor. It allows us to collaborate with REACH members, and it moves the discussion from just simply describing health inequities to providing solutions. Next slide, please. Our parent grant, it provides support as in the structure that I mentioned, as well as for consortium activity. We established early on an administrative core and an external advisory board, which helped move the focus of the project along. We are co-developing with the HBCU Health Profession School Deans from Xavier and Coppin State student training programs to increase the pipeline of investigators that have expertise in the conduct of what's called regulatory science related to health equity. And then our third aim for our parent structure is to conduct pilot research to delineate evidence-based strategies for overcoming what's already been identified as the barriers to equity in research participation, including clinical trials for African Americans in Maryland and for a host of communities from your healthships. And Dr. Cooper is the lead clinical trial pilot research. So we have the parent grant, which is in the center, and a variety of rapidly accelerated and funded supplements on a variety of topics, which I'll go into now. Thank you. The first one I'd like to briefly discuss, it was our largest supplement and is ongoing, and it is related to inequities in pediatric food allergy. We know that about 8% of children in the US have food allergies, and about 11% of adults have food allergies. Literature continues to demonstrate that the morbidity, risk, and mortality, as well as access to interventions that can address emergency situations, such as access to EpiPens, it differs by race, ethnicity. And so that is the focus of our project. We are determining from the patients themselves, pediatric patients, their parents or caregivers, what are their needs, what are their unmet needs, how do they value an understanding of participation or elevating their voice in Food and Drug Administration activities, be they advisory committees, listening sessions, et cetera. We are also interviewing clinicians and other health professionals who care for diverse pediatric food allergy patients to document from a clinical standpoint, physicians, nursing, PAs, and others, emergency medicine, allergy, immunology physicians, what they feel are unmet needs for this group of patients. And we are currently in the field completing the data collection. We hope at the end of the project that we will be able to have input on what are the best ways to communicate with the caregivers, the parents, and the children to enhance their access to beneficial interventions. What do they feel are the benefits or not of having children participating in food allergy related clinical trials? Because we know that there's underrepresentation, for example, of Black or African American children in those trials that have been producing some life-saving interventions, whether that is peanut patch or newer interventions for multiple food allergies in the pediatric population. So that is the focus for our pediatric food allergy patient study. Just wanted to reaffirm, and this is delineated nicely on the FDA website, there are 9 major food allergies. The most recent group added in 2023 was sesame was added to the list, making it 9. So there's milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, soybeans, and then of course sesame. The regulatory overview for labeling of products that may have an allergic reaction included the Food Allergen Labeling and Consumer Protection Act, or FALCIPA, and then FASTER. And the new latest FASTER in 2023 added sesame to this group of 9 major food allergies on the Food and Drug Administration list. Our next project is related to 2 items in the same project. The first is chemical hair smoothers and creating and testing key messages for Black or African American and diverse communities. And then the second component of that project is fragrance, allergy, or sensitivity, and creating similar messages, testing those messages, disseminating the information through what the community defines as the trusted messenger, and then the key dissemination channels, whether that's a QR code, whether it's social media, whether it's print media, or all of the above. And the team working with me includes Elio Montero, Dr. Abdu Sengar, Brittany Harris, Barbara Jean Shaneman, RN, a nurse, clinical research coordinator, and then Bernard Davies Tay, MD. For the chemical hair smoothers, this addresses the concern about formaldehyde and formaldehyde-like exposures that happen either in the home using certain products that have formaldehyde, formalin, or methylene glycol, or in a salon, a beauty salon. And it turns out when people get their hair straightened or smoothed with these products and heat is applied to the hair, the gases for these products are released. It has been shown in a study completed 2 years ago that because these products are marketed intensely and used intensely by members of the Black or African American community in salons or in their homes, there is a higher risk in the most recent study of uterine cancer, cancer of the uterus. And that occurs 2 to 3 times higher in women who use the products for 6 months out of a year. Now, prior to the study that showed the increase in uterine cancer, there were studies that document the increase in use of these products, same women, Black or African Americans, of ovarian, breast, and other types of cancer. This has generated a great deal of interest in the general public and consumers, but also from the Congressional Black Caucus, who had approached the commissioner of the FDA to work on ultimately banning of these substances in hair products. Our project will assess in affected communities the awareness about the risk associated with using these products, whether it's in the home or in the salon. What should be the message to warn people about these products? Who should be the trusted messenger? And what dissemination channel should be involved? And of course, risk mitigation in terms of reducing exposure or use of these products, particularly in Black or African American women where these products are really marketed to. So that is for our chemical hair smoothers, formaldehyde, formalin, like, which is formalin, and methylene glycol products. Now there is a draft rule out of the FDA to ultimately ban these substances. It has not been affected yet. It hasn't been implemented yet. So the second component of the cosmetic projects, we're calling them, deals with fragrance allergy and sensitivity. With all of our supplements, we are involved heavily in pre-engagement activities to determine from the affected communities what should we ask in the focus groups, in the interviews, and so on and so forth. So we've already initiated pre-engagement for this part of the cosmetic project, talking to a host of adults, males and females, asking about their experience with having reactions to certain fragrances, whether they have allergy, sensitivity, whether they're dermatological or skin reactions, whether they're respiratory reactions. So this one is a little bit more generic because it involves males and females, and the substances in fragrances that are thought to solicit allergies or sensitivities are a lengthy list that was adopted by the US but developed in Europe. And so we are basically just getting started on this project, but I wanted to let you know that's part of our cosmetic project. And we are building into both of the cosmetic projects, the hair smoothers and the fragrance opportunities for across the lifespan in terms of age and also males and females and students at HBCUs to participate in informing both in the pre-engagement phase, but also when we're collecting data in the focus groups. Okay. Our next project has two components. One is adult food allergy. You remember the first one I mentioned, which was a larger investigation, is pediatric, but this is for adult. And then the second is gene therapy for sickle cell disease. Next slide, please. And sorry, the same team, Alio, Brittany, Barbara Jean Shaneman, Abdul, and also Bernard. For the adult food allergy, as I mentioned, about 11% of adults are thought to have food allergy. We believe that percent is probably higher in diverse communities. This project focuses specifically on allergy to oat, wheat, barley, and gluten sensitivity. Gluten sensitivity typically occurring at lower levels in communities of color. And we're using the same process, pre-engagement with clinicians that see adult food allergy patients to help inform what we're going to investigate in the focus groups and the interviews. The second component of that supplement is related to sickle cell disease and gene therapy treatment. This has a unique meaning for me because when I was in college at Pomona College in Claremont, California, we used to go and do sickle cell screening out in the community on weekends. And then later in the summers when we were out of school in Watts under tents, I used to do sickle cell screening and blood pressure screenings. And so to be able to come back to sickle cell disease at this part of my life and my career is really a joy. You know, sickle cell disease is an inherited disease where the patient produces abnormal hemoglobin or hemoglobin S as in Sam. Hemoglobin S sickles becomes sickle shape instead of the normal round red blood cell shape that normal hemoglobin allows most of us to have. So there's over 100,000 individuals with the disease in the US. It affects African Americans at higher rates, but there are some notable occurrences in Hispanic and Latinos, as well as Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, and other populations. The sickle hemoglobin causes the red blood cell to sickle, and then it causes blockage in the blood vessels called vaso-occlusive disease. That results in excruciating pain. Excruciating pain. The disease also causes tremendous morbidity, but also reduces the lifespan. In December of 2023, the Food and Drug Administration approved 2 cell-based gene therapy treatments for sickle cell disease that, under the appropriate circumstances, would absolutely cure the disease. Remarkable, remarkable technology. And so we are in the phase of pre-engagement with representatives of organizations that serve sickle cell patients and their parents and caregivers for the younger groups. And we're also working on how to communicate the potential benefits of clinical trial participation, which these 2 gene therapy treatments resulted from successful clinical trials. The 2 cell gene therapies are from the clinical trials for age 12 and over. Just a remarkable advancement in technology with the potential to completely cure a very debilitating disease. I'm not able to say the other names for the 2 approved cell gene therapies, but I put the generic names up above. One uses a viral envelope to deliver a healthy hemoglobin producing gene, and the other edits or cuts the particular gene to reactivate the production of what's called fetal hemoglobin, which does not sickle. The barriers to adoption of this new technology are lack of information reaching the patients and the caregivers, misinformation about the procedure, uh, a very intensive preparation phase that's lengthy and very complex. It will last months at least. Sequela may include sterility, um, blood cancers, and other potential risk. And then, of course, there are discussions about the cost and the coverage, which could be $2 to $3 million for the cost. However, there are a number of states in the US that are piloting programs to provide coverage for this procedure for the eligible patients. And in our pre engagement, we're learning that many sickle cell patients, the young adults, they don't have what they consider a reliable source of information on how to access the procedure and, of course, the length and what's going to be required. And that's part of our investigation is to work with patient groups, with patients and with their caregivers to determine the best way to communicate the availability of this uh, gene therapy and how to access it if a person wants to determine if they're eligible. And so that would include discussions with hematologists and other clinicians in order to help inform their patients about how to access the therapy. Jimmy Oligari received this treatment, cell-based gene therapy treatment, and is completely cured of his sickle cell disease. He is the most remarkable and generous human being. He's founder and advocate for others to learn about how to access this treatment. He has a national and a global voice, and he's just amazing. And on my LinkedIn site, he had sent his before and after laboratory studies, before gene therapy, after gene therapy. Was such a sharing and wonderful human being. And we're hoping to have him engage with our project in some way as a role model. Now, so far, there have been, since the approval, about 3 patients, including him, that have received the therapy. Both of the therapy efficacy resulted out of clinical trials. And so, as part of our project too, we want to determine people's interest and willingness to participate in trials to further advance gene therapy. And that could include making the preparation phase less complex so that it's less of a deterrent for some people to agree to see if they will benefit from the treatment. But just want to mention Jimmy Oligari, fantastic. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I'd be happy to entertain comments or questions, is MedWatch, the FDA Safety Information and Adverse Event Reporting Program, which in our experience conducting many town halls with community organizations, many focus groups, and key informant interviews, a majority of individuals were not aware that they had the ability to report adverse events either online at the FDA website or at their community pharmacist. They can walk into the pharmacist and say, I've had this reaction, I want to make a report. And so we are committed to increasing the public's awareness of this system and how to use it. And so this publishes safety alerts from FDA regulated products, whether they're biologics, so blood, plasma, gene therapies, prescription and over the counter meds, special nutritional products such as infant formula, combination products such as pre-filled syringes, metered dose inhalers, and nasal sprays. and foods and beverages and ingredients, and then of course cosmetics, which we're continuing to learn about the regulatory authority of FDA over cosmetics. FDA also regulates tobacco products, vaccines, animal, drug, device, pet food, and livestock. And the link here is the link for MedWatch and the process of reporting adverse events. So someone uses a hair product that has formaldehyde, experiences burns in their hair, respiratory problems after heat touches the product, that gas will be released. They have the ability, again, to go into their pharmacy or to report adverse reactions on the FDA website. Two other uh, supplements that we have that I won't really go into today include a student supplement, again, to increase the pipeline of investigators that are diverse, that conduct regulatory science on health equity. And the other is a really brand new supplement that looks to increase informed consent in research and make it more community and patient centric. And this is a ongoing effort of the FDA. It is a ongoing effort throughout my career for about 30 something years working in health equity to increase diversity and equity in clinical research participation, including trials, but learning from the community that informed consent needs to have full disclosure. It has to discuss certain things during it, such as what happens at the end of the study. Are you going to tell me my findings or the general findings? And so I look forward when we have more findings and results to come back another time and talk about our other two supplements. With that, I thank you for your attention and look forward if you have any comments or questions about our work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Baquet. Really, some really fascinating things I didn't, certainly some things I didn't know about, but also interesting about that MedWatch that you can look up, potential advisories about products, but also that it seems fairly easy to report if you have an adverse effect or reaction to something, like that whole list that you had. So, Sandra, question or comment?
I do have, excuse me, good afternoon, everyone. I do have both a question and a comment. And my comment is this, Dr. Baquet, thank you so much for actually doing what you did for us today. This is actually Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. It's today. And so with that, from my heart, I thank you because what you did actually brings credit to what Dr. King stated in reference to healthcare and a quote that he stated in reference to healthcare. So for that, I thank you. My question is this. I am a member of the National Council of Negro Women, and we were just introduced this past weekend, at one of my committee meetings to the All of Us campaign. And so when I heard the All of Us campaign and I'm hearing you now, I'm wondering, is there a chance for collaboration so that you guys can actually expand both the works that's being done, the great works that's being done in our community? Is there a chance for collaboration when it comes to that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for restating the memory of Dr. King and the significance of today. Really do appreciate that. I'm a former NIH scientist. I was a cancer scientist for probably 10 years at the National Cancer Institute. And so I'm very close to NIH initiatives and maintaining my ties to NIH. So I'm very familiar with the All of Us project. I would say in terms of there's tremendous opportunity for our projects that are especially in pre-engagement and then in recruitment that will start after that for interviews as well as focus groups, there's a tremendous potential for being part of the recruitment phase for your organization. And so if we could get your contact information, we'd be happy to be in contact to discuss how you can participate actively in informing what the focus is going to be. As I mentioned, the latter supplements that we have a really intense focus on developing messaging, assessing the awareness of the community about these issues, about formaldehyde, formalin, et cetera, hair smoothers and disease risk, adult food allergy, and sickle cell, and the two new cell-based gene therapies. So we also will be soliciting guidance on who's the trusted messenger to deliver the information from these new messages and what's the best channel. And so, open arms, welcome you to contact us so that we can see how your organization can be involved in helping informing the solutions for these health equity projects.
Dr. G, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Doctor, for a powerful presentation. So I currently serve on the Kidney Health Initiatives steering committee for sickle cell nephropathy. And I was wondering if the innovation that the FDA is currently testing would help sickle cell patients that also suffer with kidney disease. Would it, I guess I'm asking, is there a dual cure, or is it just curing the sickle cell?
That's a good question.
Okay. There are stringent requirements for the patients to be admitted to be evaluated to get the cell-based gene therapy, which once the patient's gone through all that preparation, it ends up being an IV bag that is given to the patient to replace the abnormal hemoglobin. The requirements for being admitted to see if you're eligible would include evaluation of, blood work as well as kidney function and other blood tests. So I could not say to you that everyone that has sickle cell nephropathy would be admitted, but there are protocols to see if those patients would be admitted for gene therapy. The focus of the gene therapy is changing the sickle cell gene. And so the two available cell-based gene therapies would change the hemoglobin from sickle cell hemoglobin. And when you change from sickle hemoglobin, then there's no longer those vaso-occlusive disorders, which, as you know, that can affect kidney function also. So I could not say every person with kidney function, depends what their kidney function is. But there are, I think, if you have patients that are interested, they should talk to their primary sickle cell caregiver, whether that's a hematologist or whoever it is, to find out, where can they go to find out their potential eligibility.
Thank you, ma'am. And one last question. With this particular initiative, do you think this is one step closer because of the closeness with sickle cell and APO1? Do you think this could lead to a pathway of people of color receiving genetic testing instead of having to fall into a particular disease state and then go through the paperwork of trying to get genetic testing?
Mm-hmm. Very, very important topic that you've mentioned. We know that people of color are not getting genetic testing at the same rate as the general population. We know that there is very low occurrence of people that conduct genetic testing in there's very little diversity is what I'm trying to say. There's not a lot of people in the pipeline that are people of color that do genetic testing, and that's another problem. So I think that with an intensive amount of education of the public, of the community about the potential benefits of genetic testing, what it says and does not say, how it can be obtained, I think that that is a great potential. But again, we know that there's lack of equity in communities that receive or are offered genetic testing. And then the pipeline is very small for, say, African Americans who do genetic testing. So I think that those are great areas for improvement. I think education of the public on the potential benefits says it does not. It's very important.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Karen, go ahead.
Yes, Dr. Baquet, I just want to thank you for the great work that you're doing, specifically on this day, Martin Luther King's Day. And I was just so excited when you stated that you all are engaging Xavier University and other HBCUs in the REACH initiative, as I am a graduate from an HBCU. Uh, Another thing that really excited me in your presentation when you mentioned the REACH, and I encourage those of us that's on this forum here, look in your communities because REACH has been around, and I'm so glad that you are engaging the new generation of people of colors to engage in this project. When you stated, when they put out this announcement about you doing this for Martin Luther King, and I get really emotional when we talk about Martin Luther King, and I want to say this: he was a visionary, and you too are a visionary. And in 1966, Martin Luther King talked about housing, transportation, education, housing. He was a visionary. And those things that he talked about then, we're talking about today, but we've coined it social determinants of health. And the person put the verbiage from Martin Luther King, which is a powerful statement. And he said it in 1966, and it's applicable today, where it says, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and the most inhumane. So I thank you. Uh, Godspeed. Continue to do your work because there's a lot of work to be done, an awful lot of work to be done, especially in the health equity space in our society. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Karen. Alita?
Hi, thank you, Dr. Baquet, for an amazing and informative presentation. And thank you for your work and commitment and dedication to our people and our health. I actually have two separate questions. One is I'm fascinated by the sickle cell gene therapy. And I was wondering whether or not there is, I think I heard you say that the population starts at age 12 and up. Is there any conversation or potential for it to, that type of clinical trial to be introduced at a younger age? Because at a younger age, sickle cell has significant impact on neurological development. And so by the time kids are 12, like kiddos are 12, there's been a significant amount of impact to their own brain development that has occurred. So is there any appetite for making the trial or creating a therapy that actually addresses the younger kids to help to avert that?
That is an incredible point. Thank you. There is discussion about having trials for younger age patients. In order to have those, there would have to be recruitment of the patients. And we know that there's ongoing underrepresentation of Blacks or African Americans in clinical trials in general. And this has persisted for some decades. In some disorders, there are encouraging signs, some studies of chronic kidney disease and hypertension. But I think that we need to do a more expansive effort to educate the people, the community, on what is a clinical trial, what's the potential benefits, how it can advance science, how it can potentially advance quality of life. And so we are, as part of our investigation, we are asking the advocacy organizations, the parents, and the children, what their views are about participating in clinical trials for sickle cell disease in general, but also the younger age group. So there is interest by FDA and sponsors about the younger age group, but there's, to my knowledge, there's not a trial going on yet. But we need to do at the same time that we're hopeful for those kinds of studies, educate the parents, the caregivers about the potential benefits. And this is how you advance technology, advance science, and advance health. I've noticed, I've started many years ago, asking about why don't you think we participate in clinical trials? Today, I think that there is much more interest if certain things are met by the researchers, and that includes what the public wants as full disclosure and transparency in the informed consent process, return of research findings, not just doing the study and then you never hear from people again. What's the results? And then something that's called post-study care. So I'm very encouraged that the public and communities that have been underrepresented previously are very interested in participating in trials. But I think we still need to continue to educate the public on the potential benefits, and that includes the parents and the caregivers for the younger sickle cell patients about the potential benefits.
All right, yeah, that's fair. Thank you. My second question had to do with the hair smoothers and formaldehyde. I am thrilled that finally there is some focus on this. And I was wondering how much of a consideration is being given to the people, the salon users of those products. So I would imagine there's the public health benefit, but then there's the economic kind of pushback part of this, right? Where potentially there's an entire industry of people who are Black and brown, who are steeped within, constant exposure for many hours, day to day. And so on the one hand, for those of us who might be consumers, there may be some decisions about not using the products, but then I could see the pushback on the other end from an economic perspective. So is there any conversation about what your messaging is going to be in moving forward in this?
Yes. The group of stakeholders that we are focusing on includes the general public or consumers of the products, the beauty salon, uh, um, the stylist and the beauty salon owners who make kind of the decisions about what products to buy in bulk or not. Um, the beautician schools that was suggested by one of our team, Brittany, which is a great idea. Um, the HBCU students, both the undergrad and the graduate level. And interestingly enough, in our pre-engagement, the undergraduate level female students at the HBCUs have been telling us, oh, well, we've decided to go natural, so we know all about that. Whereas the older ones have been saying to us, well, I like the way my hair looks, and just, kind of come back to me when there's more information about how to avoid it. So yeah, we have very diverse stakeholders. In our pre-engagement too, we've been finding beauty supply stores, like one, for example, in Lafayette, Louisiana, where the owner decided not to carry those products anymore. And, we've been asking, is there an economic impact that, people aren't buying the other products from you? And she said, no. Now, some people would tell us, in addition to potential economic impact, and this is pre-engagement, there was concern about the inspections that are required for beauty salons, and concern that the clearing of the products around stylists throughout the day is not what their particular state says it should be. So it's not an easy discussion, and I agree completely. There are going to be some economic pushback from some people, but we are including that in our messaging, both for messaging to the stylists, to the beauty salon owners, to the beauty supply places, what the problem is with those products, how to do risk aversion from them, and then how to work in the area of public health.
Want to say a few words about what you think might be going to happen with the FDA over the next year or so. As a member of the Alliance for a Stronger FDA, I'm very concerned that a lot of things could affect your research in particular. You might like to have some thoughts about that.
I apologize. Can you say the first part? I did not hear.
I'm sorry.
My mic. Sorry.
I wonder. I'm a former. Well, I am still a member of the Alliance for a Stronger FDA. I am very concerned that some things that might happen over the next 12 months or so are going to profoundly affect the way the FDA operates, and therefore would profoundly affect things like your research. And I wondered whether you could comment on that.
Well,
I realize you don't have a magic looking glass.
no, and I can't influence those decisions at all, unfortunately. So I'm not sure. I'll tell you. I worked in federal government. I was a senior scientist at the National Cancer Institute. I worked at the White House. I worked at HHS and Public Health Service as a Deputy Assistant Secretary for Health. So you kind of know that there'll be changes when there's changes in administration. I just kind of don't know what to expect. Our approach is to kind of plug along and keep doing the outstanding work. So I know that's probably not as provocative as you might have wanted me to say, but I've been through the changes in administration when I worked as a Fed, and since I'm not a Fed anymore. So we're just kind of hopeful that we get to continue the good work.
I'm not trying to be provocative. I'm simply trying to make sure that everybody is aware of what could happen.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mike. Miriam?
Yeah, hello. And thank you, Dr. Baquet, for your interesting topic, especially on this special day of Dr. King. I have two questions. One regarding the duration of this genetic therapy or treatment for the sickle cell. How long did it take? And the second one is about the cost. It's very costly.
Yeah, do you mean how long did the
Yeah, the duration of the, was it as soon as the treatment given, there was, recovery, or how long did it take?
Well, okay, that's good because one thing I did not say there. It's virtually immediate, but there is a intensive follow-up period that's required. And Mr. Oligari, who, I put his photo up, and he's this fantastic champion that shares his blood indices with everybody to show them the benefits. He's still undergoing. He is undergoing follow-up. So, once it's infused, it's almost immediate benefit, but there is tremendous follow-up that's required because of potential long-term side effects. Now, I'm sorry, the second thing you asked, the cost, yeah. Well, I think that's why a number of the organizations, first of all, there's a number of states that have these demonstration projects to provide the costs to cover the costs in the U.S. And yes, very expensive. It is a extremely technical procedure, and many of the pre-engagement, many of the patients that are adolescents or young adults, they're hearing that, it's so expensive, I'm not even going to try. And so we know that they need to be told of these demonstration projects and opportunities for coverage. Some of the companies are trying to develop a shorter preparation phase and a less costly, without sacrificing the science or efficacy or effectiveness method. So they realize it's very expensive. They understand. They realize that preparation phase is grueling for the patient. So they are working on ways to improve both to come down with the cost and with the length and the intensity of the preparation phase to get a patient ready to receive the infusion. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Thank you, Miriam. Yeah. Yeah, I saw Miriam's face when you said the price tag, and I could tell that question was going to come from her at some point. So, Karen, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I have one last question.
Yeah.
It seems to me, correct me or help me, Dr. Paquette, back in the day when I was younger, they used to test for sickle cell in the health departments and all of that. I don't hear much of that now. Are they screening for sickle cell? I'm thinking just off the top of my head, is it being done as vigorously as it was back in the day?
Yeah, and back in the day includes when I was in college and we were out there on weekends doing the screening, and then during the Watts Festival in the tents, we had tents
Right.
just hundreds and hundreds, and then referring people for care. You don't hear about that that much, but some states do heel stick at birth, heel stick screening for sickle cell disease, but you don't hear about it as much as, like you said, back in the day.
In Lebanon, it's my country. We have a lot of sickle cell patients. And the Minister of Health in Lebanon, they did Lebanon, Beirut, Mediterranean area. So there is a program which is a screening, premarital screening and there will be a kind of counseling with the couples
Yes,
before they give birth to children.
yes, yes. Very important to counsel couples planning to marry, after they've been screened so that they understand um, whether they have trait or they actually have the disease.
And Dr. Baquet, I think this whole discussion for someone like myself that's fairly a novice when it comes to medical research and medical procedures is that you just kind of think, oh, I have this great practice. Everyone's just going to adopt it the next day. You're showing how the amount of work that needs to go in to working with credible messengers, working on the messaging about that you should be getting genetic testing for a number of things, that you should that this treatment is out there, and there may be barriers, as you said, but there are ways to overcome them. So I think this conversation, again, thank you so much for your time today and sharing all these. But I think this is a great conversation for anyone that may be discouraged in some of the dissemination of healthcare treatments or advances, because it takes a lot of work to overcome the fear or the misinformation. It's not just you say we have this new treatment and everyone's gonna hop on board. It takes a lot of work to make sure that we're saying the right things for people to get the best care. And I think this entire program of REACH you've talked about really speaks to that a lot of work needs to go in to doing that. So thank you again so much.